Welcome to Liberty Voice USA, the home of truth, facts, and the unfiltered reality of American politics. In a time when political spin dominates headlines and social media outrage replaces meaningful debate, our goal is to strip away the noise and focus on what truly matters: integrity, accountability, and the voices that shape the nation's future. Tonight, we turn our attention to a political moment that few saw coming, one that blends the lines between legal drama, media strategy, and raw human emotion. It involves two powerful women on opposite sides of America's political and cultural divide. Caroline Leavitt, the former Trump campaign spokeswoman and current conservative firebrand, and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, the unapologetic Democratic rising star from Texas. And the story revolves around something that could shake both of their reputations: an $80 million lawsuit that's now taken a dramatic and deeply personal turn. The headlines came fast, and the reactions were even faster. News outlets reported that Caroline Leavitt, once one of Donald Trump's most loyal defenders, had privately and later publicly pleaded with Representative Jasmine Crockett to drop or settle the lawsuit that's been brewing between their political networks. What began as a defamation claim has now evolved into a public spectacle, and for the first time it's testing the limits of political rivalry in an age where every word becomes a weapon. Sources close to Leavitt reportedly described her outreach as a plea for de-escalation in a climate already defined by polarization and hostility. Leavitt's request wasn't just about money, it was about optics, reputation, and political survival. According to those familiar with the situation, she approached Crockett through intermediaries, asking her to show mercy, or at least consider the greater good. Words that, coming from a fierce conservative voice, carried a weight of irony for critics on the left. For months, the tension between these two figures had been quietly intensifying. It started with televised exchanges, heated interviews, and biting social media posts. Jasmine Crockett, known for her sharp legal background and uncompromising rhetoric, has never shied away from confrontation. Her voice, often filled with both authority and conviction, has become symbolic of a new generation of Democratic leadership that doesn't back down when challenged. On the other hand, Caroline Leavitt has built her image as a rising Republican communicator, young, articulate, and unafraid to defend conservative values in an often hostile media environment. But this time, the dispute between them moved beyond politics. The lawsuit in question, reportedly centered on allegations of character defamation and reputational damage, has now grown to involve over $80 million in potential claims. It's not just about one person versus another anymore. It's about the credibility of both political parties and how far leaders are willing to go to protect their images in the court of public opinion.
Observers were stunned when Leavitt, who rarely shows public vulnerability, appeared in an emotional interview where she hinted at the toll this legal war was taking, not only on her, but on her family and her future in politics. "We can disagree without destroying each other," she said softly, pausing as if the weight of the words themselves were too heavy. "America needs more grace, not more lawsuits." It was a statement that some called a heartfelt appeal, while others dismissed it as a carefully crafted political move. Jasmine Crockett, however, has been firm from the beginning. Her legal team has maintained that this lawsuit is not about politics, it's about principle. "If you defame someone, you must be held accountable," one of Crockett's advisors said. "Truth matters, words matter, and when public figures use their platforms irresponsibly, there are consequences." That position echoes a broader theme we've seen across modern American politics: accountability as both a legal and moral weapon. But what makes this particular situation so fascinating is the humanity beneath the headlines. Behind the sound bites and partisan framing, there's an unmistakable emotional undercurrent. Both women, in their own ways, represent the generational and ideological divide tearing Washington apart. One side demanding accountability through institutional power, the other pleading for reconciliation through political survival. Those who know Caroline Leavitt describe her plea to Crockett not as weakness, but as realism. "She knows what's at stake," said one Republican insider. An $80 million lawsuit doesn't just end careers, it bankrupts futures. She's fighting for her life politically and personally. Yet for Crockett, who has faced her own share of attacks, this case represents something larger: a stand against the constant stream of personal and racial insults that women of color in politics endure. Her supporters argue that backing down now would send the wrong message, that power and privilege can still silence truth. Stay tuned, stay aware, and stay truthful. This is Liberty Voice USA, where facts speak louder than politics.
The courtroom battle has yet to begin, but the public one is already raging. Social media has become a proxy battleground, with hashtags flying, partisan media outlets taking sides, and every statement being dissected in real time. Conservatives frame Leavitt's plea as a moment of moral strength, the courage to admit that escalation helps no one. Progressives, on the other hand, see it as a last-ditch attempt to avoid responsibility for years of inflammatory rhetoric. There's also the strategic layer. Some analysts believe Leavitt's sudden shift in tone could signal that her legal team sees the case as unwinnable. Others suggest it's part of a larger rebranding effort, a move to present herself as a voice of reconciliation within a Republican Party struggling to rebuild its image after years of division. Her appeal to end the lawsuit for the good of the country might resonate with moderates and independents, but it also risks alienating the more hardline voices in her own camp, who see any sign of compromise as betrayal. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett continues to navigate her own delicate balance. Her image as a fighter is part of what made her a national figure in the first place. But in this moment, she faces a choice: to continue the fight or to accept the olive branch and turn the page. For now, her response remains guarded, though sources within her circle hint that she is considering all options. That phrase, deliberately vague, could mean anything from negotiating a private settlement to doubling down in court. What this story truly reveals is the fragile intersection between politics and humanity, where ambition collides with morality and power tests empathy. In a world driven by clicks, outrage, and perpetual conflict, the simple act of asking for peace becomes revolutionary. Caroline Leavitt's plea, sincere or strategic, forces the question: when does political warfare go too far? And what does it say about our nation when lawsuits replace dialogue and courtroom victories replace public understanding? This controversy also serves as a mirror for America's current political climate. We are living in an era where disagreement is no longer about policy, it's about identity, where compromise is viewed as weakness, and where forgiveness has become a forgotten virtue. The Leavitt-Crockett confrontation isn't just about two individuals. It's about the soul of the American political system itself. And yet, Amid all the tension, there's a faint glimmer of possibility. If both women, from radically different corners of the political spectrum, can find even a fragment of mutual respect, it could send a powerful message that the country desperately needs. Not because it would make headlines, but because it would remind Americans that even in conflict, there can still be dignity. Carolyn Leavitt's plea may never be enough to stop an $80 million lawsuit. It may not change the trajectory of this battle or the public's perception of her motives, but it does raise a timeless question that every citizen should be asking. When does justice serve truth, and when does it serve revenge? As the story continues to unfold, both sides will face immense pressure, from party leaders, from legal teams, and from the American people watching closely. Every statement, every gesture, every courtroom filing will be parsed for meaning. But beyond all the legal maneuvering, the human story remains. Two women, both powerful in their own right, both shaped by conviction, now caught in a confrontation that transcends politics itself.
In the end, no matter where you stand, left or right, conservative or progressive, the hope is that somewhere within this storm, a greater truth will emerge. That political courage will not only be defined by who can shout the loudest, but by who can find the strength to step back, reflect, and seek resolution without hatred. Because America cannot heal through perpetual conflict. It heals through understanding, accountability, and forgiveness, values that are slowly fading but never completely lost. Whether this lawsuit becomes a symbol of division or a turning point towards civility depends entirely on the choices made in the coming days. And as those choices unfold, Liberty Voice USA will continue to bring you the facts, the truth, and the context that too many others ignore. Stay tuned, stay aware, and stay truthful. This is Liberty Voice USA, where facts speak louder than politics.